So that's what Belgium's doing with wireless.
Thank you, Thomas. Are there any questions immediately for Thomas? If not, I think we will just move on. We've got several speakers today, and then we can have some open questions at the end. Thank you very much.
I have one question.
Yes, go ahead, Rich.
Thomas, you originally stated that you had a $500,000 budget to do your wireless project. Did you come in at $500,000?
Actually, no is the short answer to that. We spent $500,000 to deploy approximately 180 access points throughout the facility and equip about, I think there's about 500 PCs with wireless access cards. Now, the expansion beyond that is being funded by individual departments. So, for example, our materials handling, our facilities department have, out of their own savings, funded adding access points into some of the basement warehouse areas so they can, and the acquisition of handheld devices, which they're using right now to track materials in and out of their supply area.
How are you budgeting continuing expenses, in particular obsolescence and upgrades, as well as your changes in
Very poorly. We generally look at the life cycle, and then we try to see if we can squeeze another 3 years out of it. We put it into the capital spending plan and then keep getting squeezed further and further out. We're tracking technology right now. We're looking at the 5 gigahertz range, but quite frankly, we think that the frequency hopping provides security and interference avoidance issues, so we're staying there right now, waiting to see what's going to happen at the higher frequency level.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Our next speaker, Thomas, is Dean Morrison. Dean's the CIO of Capital Region Healthcare in Concord, New Hampshire. He's been in that capacity since 1996. He joined Capital in 1976 as a pharmacist. Interesting career path there. Dean is going to discuss the wireless Ethernet project, which includes point-of-care charting. So please welcome Dean Morrison.
Thank you. I'm going to try to focus on a particular application and talk a little bit in more detail about the issue and the use of point-of-care charting technology and how wireless technology facilitates that. Tom did a great job giving an overview of all the different ways you could think about using wireless. But I'm going to focus in a little more specifically on exactly just one area. We started, this is a very idealistic vision. I think it's always important to have some idea of where you're shooting for. In our organization, we all came to the belief that in the long term, the way that we were going to change practice in medicine was having information at the point of time that people needed it, wherever that might be. So this is a very idealistic vision, but one in which I think really relates to the issue of making decisions and charting information relative to your patients. In our institution, we decided that we would focus, and our focus was going to be basically on point-of-care charting and the ability for our caregivers to interact with patients and chart away from the nursing stations. So with those two things in mind, let me give you a little sense of our setting. Capital Region Healthcare is a 4-hospital system in central New Hampshire. I won't go through all of the numbers. We're smaller than most of you. What we've done is we focused on the point of care and the wireless technology in the largest hospital, which is in Concord, New Hampshire, at Concord Hospital. So that's what I'm going to speak to. We're not using wireless technology in our smaller organizations, which are geographically separate from us. So where we have wireless in our institution is we have 4 approximate 30-bed acute care units. They're all up on wireless technology. We have 3 different 15-bed intensive care units. We do cardiac surgery at Convent Hospital. We have a progressive care unit. We have a intensive care unit and a special care unit. We have a small pediatric unit and busy ER for our area. We have wireless technology in those areas, and we're about to move forward with wireless in our women's health unit. The applications that we use, and it occurs to me that the sorts of things that we all do when we have a limited amount of capital, when we have a limited amount of people, and we have a limited amount of energy and intellectual capital, they really kind of depend upon the vision and the passion of people in your organization and who really wants to do what. And I would say in our organization, for whatever reason, with my background coming out of pharmacy and relationship and having experience on the floors, we've evolved into using technology that really has, we work very diligently to automate the medication administration process and take our errors, work hard at taking errors out of the medication administration process that organizations have. It's interesting because we started this back around in 92, 93, with the old Clinicom product, which was then subsequently acquired by HBOC, now HBOC Pathways Care Manager. Our setting is very much like Jerry's. We have STAR and Pathways, so he's really going to tune into what I'm going to say. Anyhow, with that in mind, we focused on the medication administration process, and in 93, 94, it was one of those things that everybody knew was a problem, but nobody wanted to talk about, and nobody did talk about. And you really couldn't get much energy at your senior level because people really didn't want to acknowledge they had an issue. For whatever reason, we were able to make some progress in that area, and it wasn't until the Institute of Medicine's report came out that all of a sudden this application, which was sort of languishing in the background, became a centerpiece for our organization. It's fascinating and actually very interesting. Anyhow, we've been focusing on medication and IV administration, and we have that. We have a process in place that uses barcoded technology, which I'll talk a little bit about, for distributing meds and IVs all the way from the time that they're picked out of the pharmacy, put into the carts, and then given at the bedside by the nurses. Then following that, we went forward with using the bedside system for charting vitals, INOs, nursing assessments, and then doing chart reviews. We use what I would call, and maybe your definition would be second generation, but I'm saying first generation wireless Ethernet, which is basically the 2.4 to 2.835 gigahertz frequency range. And as Tom said, it's frequency hopping spectrum technology, and it jumps back and forth. If you have these spectrums, it just goes up and down all around. And the idea behind it is that if you're trying to jam, it's actually, I think, developed by the military to ensure that the enemy couldn't jam a particular frequency. So it sort of hops around. And you may have interference on any one given frequency, but the idea is you wouldn't have interference across all those frequencies. It's an 802.11 standard. It's 2 megabits per second throughput, which isn't a lot. We found when we look at the practical throughput, it's not 2 megabits per second. It's really, you really need about 20 to 40 plus 1,500 byte packets to have reasonable performance. So if you've got technical people, they ought to be able to put sniffers and that sort of stuff and tell you if your performance is going to meet what you need. And it's one of the drawbacks I'll talk about later. If the performance doesn't work well, you're going to have some pushback. In our organization, the way you do it is you put fixed points around the organization. You have an analysis done to sort of figure out what kind of dead spots, what kind of organization and range you can cover. And we have about 20 access points throughout the hospital in order to cover the areas that we're using the technology in. We're about to move forward with second generation wireless in our women's health unit. Second generation is